And many experts also report the rate at which the coronavirus is being detected in wastewater has tripled or quadrupled in many parts of the U.S. in recent weeks. Eric Nacton, KITV4, Island News.
Homozygote is a fantastic source of information on COVID. Who is not a good source of information is any fucking right-winger that you see on Twitter or YouTube. Do not listen to anything they're saying. They have ran with this story about a 16-year-old student in Las Vegas dying. I believe it was some kind of flag football game.
To our top story now at 4. A local student athlete has died after a medical emergency during a flag football game.
She's been identified as 16-year-old Ashari Hughes, a sophomore at Desert Oasis High School.
And Fox 5's Danny Maston speaking with family members this afternoon who tell us exactly what happened. Danny?
Kim and John, I spoke with Ashari's dad on the phone today, who tells me she had a heart problem but had been cleared to play. Her dad, of course, confused, frustrated, and devastated by his daughter's passing. Ashari's dad tells me Ashari has always had a love and passion for football. She first started playing flag football at Centennial High School before coming to Desert Oasis. She showed initial signs of heart problems at her first game at Desert Oasis. She went to the doctors and cardiologists cleared her to play at last night's game. When playing at that game, Ashari's dad tells me she started to feel tired and was experiencing chest problems. She went to sit down, and that is when she collapsed. She wasn't breathing and did not have a pulse. A nurse from the stands performed CPR and used a defibrillator, which prompted Ashari's heart to start beating again. But when arriving to the hospital, she passed. Understandably, her classmates are grieving this loss. We spoke with students from Desert Oasis today who say the mood at school has been somber.
People feel sorrow, like what they shut down like all the practices and like games. And actually, I've heard like selfishness come from people, because I heard a football player like, why they cancel practice? I'm like, let's not worry about something like that. A girl just lost her life.
CCSD Superintendent Jesus Jara sent this statement in part. When a tragedy occurs, it affects not only that school, but the entire Clark County School District family. And we grieve with the students, staff, and families affected by this loss. Ashari's dad also tells me last night was going to be her last game, as they didn't want her to play any more games after that until her heart problems had been figured out.
Wow.
I'm told she was supposed to have a doctor's appointment today. Now, a GoFundMe page has been set up by Ashari's family.
Smoker.
A link to that.
Good evening, my friend.
Page of our website at fox5vegas.com. Reporting live, I'm Danny Maston, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
If you go look in the comments of any page sharing out that story, right-wingers are all over it like, I'm sure it's the vaccine. This didn't happen before the vaccine. It's the clot shot. It's more common than you would think. Go to the Mayo Clinic. Sudden death in young people, heart problems often to blame. Sudden death in young people is rare, but those at risk can take precautions. More common in males than females, actually. It is 1 in 50,000 to 1 in 80,000 young athletes die every year of sudden cardiac arrest. How many student athletes you think there are in the country? Fucking couple million. So you're liable to have a handful die every year, a couple handfuls die every year, just based on the statistics. So this case is not an outlier, it's perfectly normal. Right-wingers have been spreading claims about the vaccine. Two researchers found that more than 1,500 athletes have suffered cardiac arrest since COVID-19 vaccinations began, compared to a previous average of 29 athletes per year, suggesting the vaccines are causing a dramatic rise in such cardiac issues. This was Peter McCullough. That dumb fuck. The researchers cited a number from a blog that lists news stories about recent deaths and medical emergencies among people of all ages from all over the world, some of which were attributed to other causes such as cancer. The previous figure, meanwhile, is from a 2006 study that specifically reviewed literature for reports of sudden cardiac deaths among athletes under the age of 35. Comparing the two sources with different methodologies is not scientifically sound, experts told the Associated Press. Following Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin's cardiac arrest during a game on Monday, social media posts and Fox News gave air to long circulating and faulty narrative that COVID-19 vaccines are causing a dramatic increase in athlete deaths. Cardiologist Peter McCullough and researcher Panagis Polakritis looked into the trend in European sports leagues. They found that prior to COVID and COVID-19 vaccines, there were roughly 29 cardiac arrests in those European sports leagues per year. Fox's Tucker Carlson claimed in the segment on Tuesday night, since the Vax campaign began, there have been more than 1,500 total cardiac arrests in those leagues, and 2/3 of those were fatal. Oh my God, it was also on Fox News. There are 493,000 just in the NCAA. So me saying there's a couple million in the country is pretty spot on. Maybe even 3-4 million. For example, the list includes a 71-year-old woman who died at home in Canada in December, even while acknowledging her cause of death was not known, and that her obituary suggested donations to a cancer charity. I had multiple people cite this very thing, this blog post by McCullough, as a peer-reviewed study. Something like 52% of all students are athletes. God damn. And 1 in 50,000 is gonna die from heart issues in a year. So you would expect in a normal year 20-30 deaths at least. That's what the data says. Right-wingers are morons. I'm telling you, you can see it all over social media. They're like, this wasn't happening a few years ago. Athletes weren't dropping dead like this. No, they absolutely were. Humans are incredibly good at detecting patterns. So good at detecting patterns that we detect them even where patterns don't exist. And we're also really bad at dealing with probability. So that is one of the reasons why you see people cherry pick stories. They're putting more emphasis, like, it was always explained to me like this in philosophy class. You know how you have one of those instances where you're thinking to somebody and then the phone rings and it's them. I mean, as if anybody answers the phone anymore. But I was in college like 10, 15 years ago. You're thinking to somebody and they text you. And you're like, oh, god damn, I was just thinking about them. Well, yeah, here's the thing is like, there's only a handful of people in your life that you're likely to be thinking about. That same handful of people are the handful of people that are likely to be sending you a message or giving you a call.